I'm Angela. Welcome to my channel. I'm currently studying for the Praxis exam in speech language pathology, and I'm planning to take it in January 2026. So in this video, I'm breaking down what the Praxis actually is and the strategy I'm going to use to get ready for it. So what exactly is the Praxis? According to ASHA, the American Speech Language Hearing Association, the Praxis exams in audiology and speech language pathology assess the beginning practitioner's understanding of essential content and current practices. And I got that directly from ASHA's website. So it's a requirement for both state licensure and for receiving your Certificate of Clinical Competence, or your Cs as it's more commonly known. And you'll do this after your fellowship year. You'll take the Praxis right after you graduate, or sometimes slightly before, like I'm doing. So essentially, it's 6 years worth of information that we have to prove that we learned. And to me, it sounds a bit daunting, but the exam is broken down into sections, and that makes it much easier to manage. So let's break it down. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is to register for the test. Of course, you can take the Praxis at home or at an ETS testing center, and you'll register through ETS for test 5331, which is specific to speech language pathology. You can send your scores to 4 different places. 2 of them are optional, and then 2 of them are required. So the optional ones, you can send them to yourself and your university. You will get a score either way, but if you want to get yourself sent an actual official test report, you can have that done. And the 2 required are ASHA and your state's licensing board. I linked ASHA's official registration page down in the show notes so you have easy access to it. Next, day of, you'll go ahead and take that test. Then, of course, the waiting process begins again. I thought that waiting for the grad school decisions was stressful enough, but here we are again. Apparently, that's just how it goes. ETS is going to give you a score release date that depends on your test date. And once those scores are in, you will be able to view them through your Praxis account. Let's get into the test structure a little bit. So there are 132 multiple choice questions that you have 150 minutes to complete them within. And then third is planning, implementation, and evaluation of treatment. ASHA has a full breakdown of these sections, including the detailed subtopics that are linked in the show notes. I'll be referencing that list a lot as I study, just to kind of keep up on what ASHA really wants me to know and make sure it aligns with the book that I'm using to study. The current passing score for ASHA is a 162, which is on a scale of 100 to 200, but it can vary by state what the passing score is for licensure, so just make sure to look yours up. I was able to find it just by Googling it. Let's get into some of ASHA's top Praxis tips, because why not go right to the source when you want to know how to do well on it? So ASHA recommends first that you practice time management during the exam. So as I said before, you have to complete 132 multiple choice questions within 150 minutes. So that gives you a little bit more than a minute per question. So as we're studying, we should really focus on trying to efficiently answer these questions, scanning through, finding the questions that we are sure about, answering those, and then maybe moving back if that's an option. Or just learning how to pick the most efficient answer, go with your gut and what you've studied, and be confident. Next, ASHA says that you should simulate the testing conditions to try to reduce some of that test anxiety that might come up, whether that is about the time limit itself or if it's answering each single question. Third, they recommend that you don't test too early in your school career, and it's best to complete all of your coursework first. They recommend taking it just after you graduate, but I'll be taking it in January after most of my coursework is completed, just because I want that opportunity to try it, take it. If I pass, cool. If not, I can always come back and take it right after graduation again. So it's a little bit less stressful for someone like me who tends to overthink everything. Finally, they suggest that you should definitely prepare and use practice tests and a study guide. 2 great ones that they mention themselves are ETS or the National Black Association of Speech Language Hearing. Those are both some solid options. I linked a couple more down in the show notes that I've heard of students using, but I'll get into the one that I'm using in a minute. So I know myself that I need structure when I'm going to study for something, especially something to this magnitude where there's so much information to try to get through. I actually worked with ChatGPT, shout out, to create a plan, and we broke it down into 4 phases. So First, I'm going to take August and really just do a deep dive into the material. I'm using the Advanced Review of Speech Language Pathology book, which I linked below. And then I'm using a site called RemNote as well as Quizlet to make flashcards. And I'm also organizing everything in another website called Trello. All of those are linked below. Trello's really cool because you can create different boards dedicated to different things. So I have a board dedicated to Praxis study. And on this board, there's several lists, and then under the lists, you can put your kind of to-do cards. These you can add details to, sub-checklists under those, and you can move them along as you progress through completing each studied section for the praxis. So my Trello setup, as you can see right here, I have a to-study list, which is everything from all the 3 praxis sections. Every single topic that is listed either in the advanced review book or elsewhere is listed in there. Second, I have a studying this week list, which is cards that I'm actively reviewing. So every week I will take some cards from that to study list and I'll move them over into studying this week so I can focus on a more manageable chunk. Third is a mastered list, which I will move cards into once I feel that I am confident in a topic. I'm assuming that's probably not going to get until like phase 3 or so of my praxis study journey. Next, I have a practice questions list, which contains links to my custom Quizlet tests. I take things from RemNote that I've written that's essentially just a big outline, and I'll move that into Quizlet. I have the paid version, so I can use AI to turn it into a practice test. I also have the next column is the full practice tests column, which contains reminders for when I want to take official ETS practice tests. Those are paid, so I'm scheduling out to take 2 different ones, one in mid-November and then one in the beginning of December, just to kind of give myself an idea of where I'm at with an actual testing simulation. Finally, I have a notes and resources list, which includes a great Spotify playlist by a user named Kristen. I have that linked down below, and it has podcast pairings for each review chapter and topic in that advanced review book. So it's been a really helpful tool just on my commute back and forth to school and to my externship, just being able to turn on this podcast and listen to something that gives me a little bit of insight into what's going to be on the praxis. So a quick side note about RemNote, because I think it's a really cool platform to use. You can type notes and create flashcards at the same time. You learn these little quick keys on your keyboard and it splits it into different lined cards and later turns them into flashcards. It uses spaced repetition, which is really awesome for long-term retention. My pro tip with it though is don't let the number of due cards overwhelm you each day. It can get up pretty high depending on how much information you have put in there. I cap my daily goal at about 50 to 75 max per day, and that helps me to stay on top of the material without really getting burnt out. Next, I'll move into phase 2, which is my maintenance phase, which will be about September to October. This is when classes are going to start. We have some accelerated classes that are fitting within 7 to 8 weeks, so time's really going to be limited. I'm going to switch over to this maintenance mode where I'll focus on 20 to 30 minutes of flashcards daily on the weekdays, and then maybe 1 to 2 hours of a deeper review on Saturdays. I'm also going to mix in some Quizlet practice tests just to keep things fresh. Moving into phase 3, this is when I will fill in the gaps of my learning. This is going to happen from maybe late October to early December. This will be after classes end, so I'll shift to identifying weak areas in my knowledge and I'll fill in those gaps. I'm going to take a deep dive into ASH's practice portal, which I have linked below to get a more rounded and specific knowledge base. Then I'll take ETS practice test 1 mid-November and practice test 2 in early December. Finally, we're going to get into phase 4, which is crunch time. That will be mid-December through January. Just because that's my schedule that I'm following doesn't mean you have to do it that soon. I just want to take that first chance to try out the exam. This is going to be the final stretch, and I'm going to focus on speed and accuracy under time pressure, trying to get those 132 questions done in 150 minutes. I'm going to focus on reviewing some of my past errors and things I keep getting stuck on, and then I'm going to refresh some of those tricky topics. Then in mid-January, hopefully, it'll be test day. And honestly, no matter how it goes, I know I'm going to celebrate because the work, the consistency, and then the why behind all of my studying, that's what's going to make the whole process worth it. It's going to help you become a better clinician, no matter how the test itself turns out. So if you're studying along with me, hit subscribe and drop a comment to just say hi. Let me know what topics you'd like me to cover, and let's tackle this exam together. Thanks. Bye.